Hey friends, how's it going? As you can tell by the title, today I'm going to be doing some rapid fire reviews of the first 50 books that I've read so far this year. My Goodreads goal for 2023 was to read 50 books and I hit that maybe 2 months ago. This video was supposed to come a little bit after I hit this goal, but I haven't had the time to film it, so we're doing it now. As the title suggests, these are going to be hopefully really quick reviews on, well, not really reviews, but like tidbits on what they are and or how I felt about them, and then we're gonna move on. So I'm gonna try and be quick because there's literally 50 books on this list. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. I have all my notes on my phone, so if I look down or anything, that's what I'm reading. We can't all be perfect. Sometimes I forget what I have to say, so I need to write them down. I honestly might just read everything that I wrote. Obviously, this is gonna go in chronological order, so the first book is gonna be the first one that I picked up in January 2023. The first book is Foe by Ian Reid. This is fucking bizarre, but also very atmospheric. It's the kind of quiet horror where you don't realize that you're already in it. Perfect on Paper by Sofia Gonzalez. Cute YA rom-com about a bisexual girl who's crushing hard on her best friend, which leads her to make some questionable choices that'll put their friendship to the test. Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart. Oh man. Bleak and boring. The author is basically playing a game of how much trauma can I pile on in my book in order to evoke some sort of emotional connection to the characters, but it all just ending up fucking soulless. There's no heart in this book, in my opinion. None of the characters felt like real people because they all felt like the things that happened to them. This one is the pedophile. This one is the victim. This one is also the victim. Oh, what do you know? Another victim. Oh, and this one is a victim and the abuser. Amazing. Yeah, I'm so sorry to everyone who liked this book because apparently it's very popular, but I didn't get it. An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. Insta love, all tell, no show. I felt zero connection to anything that was happening. Cold Cold Heart by Karen Slaughter. This is a short thriller novella and my first Karen Slaughter. It wasn't bad, but I can barely remember anything that happened. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This is a reread, one of the greats, literally a modern classic. I will never stop advocating for the Hunger Games to become an official modern classic. Ashford Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. The love interest was too whiny and dramatic in my opinion, but I loved Astrid. Assembly by Natasha Brown. I did not understand a single thing that was happening in this book. Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Still one of the best plot twists in a YA novel ever, or if not a novel in general, honestly. I'm literally still gagged about this 11 years later. Snow is one of my favorite villains ever, and I think my love and appreciation for villains might have started there. Speaking of Snow, I have not read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes or whatever it's called. I just want to know if it's worth it, if I should read it, or if I should just watch the movie. I didn't read it when it came out because I hate when series that have long since ended, I hate when they get like a new edition years later. So I didn't read it when it came out, but I'm kind of feeling left out and I want to know if it's worth it. Like, should I read it? Please let me know down in the comments below if I should read Snow's book, the fourth book in the Hunger Games trilogy. Well, quartet now. The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Fun for a while, but it becomes corny halfway through. I was ready for them to wrap it up. A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsk. This is a DNF. No action, no stakes, no vibes. Bring back real fantasy. Not whatever half-assed fanfiction-y-esque most fantasy has become post-2020. Like, I'm so serious. I don't want to be mean, and this isn't any diss to like anybody, but I'm being so serious right now. Y'all need to get it together, because this is not it. And this isn't just about this book specifically. It's a lot of the fantasy that I've been picking up that have been published post 2020. There's just something about them. They're not good. They're just not good. There is no meat in the stories. And I want to know why that is, and I want it to stop. Like, public service announcement, if anyone cares. All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot series. Robot goes rogue, but all humans are unaware. All Murderbot wants to do is to be left alone to consume media. And this is something that I relate to deeply. fun and fresh. Artificial Condition, also by Martha Wells. This is the second book in the Murderbot series. A lot less fun and definitely not fresh. Murderbot has an existential crisis the entire time, and I didn't care. The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, a story about perseverance, hope, and showing up as a parent even though your kid hates your guts. This was actually pretty heartbreaking for the most part, but incredibly well written and super immersive. This is a historical fiction set during the Texas dust storms. I learned a lot about American history. I also learned that no matter who you are, white people will come up with a slur for you. Yeah, even if you're white yourself, they'll come up with a slur. Trust. You can always trust them on that. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. I thought this was pretty generic. I didn't think it went beyond the premise of the main character sleeping for an entire year because she's depressed. So I didn't really think much of it. Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Katniss is so mean to Peeta here. Like, it's unreal. Like, that girl has some serious issues. She needs therapy badly. Because how are you mad that I'm crazy? How are you mad that I got tortured? Hello, you're more mad than me. How is that? I don't get it. I love Peeta with literally with my entire being. Like, he's my baby boy. I will protect him from anyone. And yes, even Katniss, even though I also love Katniss just as much. It's a complicated relationship between us. Yeah. Anyway, Team Penis forever. Yay. The Push by Ashley Audrain. This is a mystery thriller that reads kind of like literary fiction about the nuances of motherhood, fatherhood, daughterhood, sonhood, all kinds of hoods. But also it's about the tragic ordeal of perpetuating generational trauma and the cycle of violence, and also becoming exactly like your own mother. Boy moms, girl dads, and whatnot. I loved it. The next one is a manga, Dorohedoro Volume 22. Second to last volume in this bloody, gory, funny, elaborate, fucked up little story. Hayashida does such a great job of balancing absolute insanity with plot progression while still remaining humorous and fun. Big Swiss by Jen Began. Mommy issues, but in reverse. Again, I think I mentioned this in my previous video, but like, you know, Fleabag, pick me, choose me, love me. The thing about Greta here is that you can see her going through life trying to find somebody that'll finally choose her, that'll love her for who she is, and just you just have to constantly see how she's just let down multiple times, even throughout childhood as a child, which is when you need the most support and the most love and warmth, even from the people that are supposed to provide that for you. She just doesn't get that, and it's just sad when you really think about it. But don't get me wrong, this book is freaking bizarre and strange, and there's like a bunch of what the fuck moments, but if you really think about it, it's kind of sad. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I fucking love this book. It's probably gonna be my #1 book of the year. Kind of embarrassing to admit, but yeah. What can I say? I like weird books. Circe by Madeline Miller. I don't know if this is really a feminist retelling or if this is just in the point of view of a woman. And honestly, I don't know much about Circe's life in general, so I don't know how different it is from the original character. But reading this, I feel like it's teetering on the latter, where I really wouldn't call this a feminist retelling. Don't jump me. Okay. Although I do think that it's kind of hard for Greek myths to decenter men, because apparently all those goddesses and nymphs were doing at that time was just throwing themselves at the gods, trying to gain their favor, either out of necessity or the genuine desire to do so. So I'm not sure how, I don't know, maybe I should read more Greek myth retelling, because I'm sure it can be done. But I just feel like for this one in particular, not quite, you know? It didn't really move me, but it wasn't bad either. Briefly, A Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. Sapphic Ghost gets a crush on a famous Sapphic writer, George Sand, dating the musical genius Chopin. Not what I expected, was kind of boring, honestly, but the author does a great job of transporting you through the timelines and eras that our ghost protagonist lives through. Nothing Burns as Bright as You by Ashley Woodfolk. The first book written in verse that actually made me feel things, although I was left wanting more because of the compelling nature of the story. One thing I can say about this book is this meme: the homoerotic girl best friend situationship can and will kill you. It's also in second person, which may be a little confusing at first, but I still highly recommend this. And again, it's written in verse, so it literally goes by really quickly. You can read it in one sitting. Tears in the Water by Margarita Ciala, really badly written, even in Wattpad standards. I'm so sorry. There's no plot and the vibes are barely there. It's a no from me. Woman Eating by Claire Coda. She did not eat, literally nor figuratively. I hate when vampires are boring. How do you have a vampire and you make them boring? Please explain that to me. How do you have a vampire? A vampire, there's so much that you can do with a vampire and you make them boring? Don't get me started. Don't get me started, okay? It gets me so heated. I want blood, gore, guts, thirst, horror, biting, toxicity, okay? Where is Lestat when you need him? Where is Carmilla? Like, you better go out there and cause chaos, okay? You better go out there and wreak havoc. This is what I need from my vampires. I need them to be toxic. I need them to be bloody. I need them to be gory. I don't want any of that boring shit. Like, existential crisis because you're a vampire? Please give it a rest. Like, give me a break. Go out there and cause some fucking chaos. That's what I want to see. This is the same problem that I had with the Gilda stories, and it pisses me off so bad because both of these books have women of color as the main character, and I'm just so annoyed that I didn't like them because why are you boring? Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joya Goffney. This is your typical drama-filled YA romance. A younger me would probably have been obsessed with this. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Mystery thriller with an interesting cast of characters and plot twists left and right. With a back and forth timeline, multiple POVs, and fast pacing, you find out that this might be the worst wedding guest list someone has ever put together. Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I may be the only one of this opinion, but the movie is better than the book. Sorry. Waif by Samantha Kolsnick. Fucked up little novella about a man going through surgical procedures to change his face in order to look like some guy his wife fancies after meeting him at a grocery store. And the husband does not even like his wife that much. It's honestly even more absurd than I'm making it sound. Check the trigger warnings. Cheer Up, Love and Pom Poms by Crystal Fraser and Val Wise. This is a cute comic about a trans girl in high school figuring herself out, what she likes, who she is, etc., whilst also rekindling a friendship with a feisty loner loser through cheerleading. I'm actually very sad that there aren't more volumes of this comic. I definitely recommend you checking it out. Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. It was either too weird or not weird enough or not weird in the right way. Like, I don't know, man. I usually like weird things, but for some reason this just wasn't to my taste. Don't get me wrong, great writing, but I found everything that was happening to be a little bit lame. Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. Beautifully written, but unfortunately I did not like it. Having read this and Daisy Jones and the Six, I realized I don't like fictional tell-alls. I very much need to be shown things as they're happening, otherwise it's very hard for me to feel any type of connection with the characters or the setting or really anything that's going on. While reading this, I felt like everything was happening at a distance. Like I was watching it from afar. I wasn't really connected or close to the story. The Upstairs House by Julia Fine. I should have known not to trust a TikTok recommendation. Wash Day Diaries by Jamila Rouser and Robin Smith. Serotonin Infused. Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Serotonin nowhere to be found. This is such a good book and it's so well written, especially as a YA book in the POV of a teenager. It delivers the story in such a strong and mature voice while still maintaining a teenage perspective. So incredibly well written, but it is sad as shit. Like, this book is so heartbreaking. I think about it constantly. Number 35, we have Genderqueer by Mayako Babe. This is a stunning memoir by a genderqueer non-binary artist using EM pronouns, talking about E's life and experiences with gender. I really loved how creative the structure of the comic was in order to deliver the story. I highly recommend checking this out. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Snooze Fest. Acricorn Cove by Kay O'Neill. Cozy story with butch women, lesbian mermaids, and a sad but hopeful message on grief, love, and protecting the environment. It's very melancholic and nostalgic, but also delightful and lovely and reassuring and optimistic. I love Kay O'Neill's art style. It's so simple, yet very cute and cozy. By C.S. Pacat. Number 38 is gonna be volumes 1 through 4 of Fence by C.S. Pacat. Teenage boys are so obsessed with fencing that they'd attend a school solely dedicated to that and never have any other classes. Also, all of them are gay. A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexandra Rowland. Second DNF of the year. This is the book that made me ward off any new age fantasy, aka any book published post 2020. Do with that what you will. It's just so boring and drab. It hits none of the story beats that it needs to. The stakes are high, but they're treated as afterthoughts because the main characters are horny, so it just kind of fizzles into nothing, especially because the plot was already weak as shit. A slow burn with no chemistry and no build-up is worse than watching paint dry. Number 40, finally, we have 10 more books left after this one. If you're still here watching this, please comment a ghost emoji. The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. Compelling magic system with a hero you want to root for and a decent amount of unknown villainous entities that maintain their appeal till the end. Number 41 is a poetry book. It's Healing the Heart by Courtney Peppernell. Listening to poetry on audiobook is very cringe. Do not try it. Number 42, The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This is funny, engaging, and atmospheric, and it's equally ridiculous as it is serious. This is what fantasy is supposed to feel like. A beginning, a middle, and an end. Number 43 is the novella of Gentleman's Guide, and it's A Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky. Spoiler alert, the gentleman is not very lucky. Number 44 is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. This is the second book in the Montague Siblings trilogy. This book is just so unserious, but also very serious at the same time. This was just as fun as the first book. Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a short story collection. There are a lot more misses than hits on this one, which is unfortunate, but I can think of at least 2 hits that I wouldn't mind an expansion on. Life Ceremony, also a short story collection by Sayaka Murata. I just like to tinker inside Sayaka Murata's brain just a bit, just to see what the hell is going on in there, because it's not right. It's not right. The Bone Shard Emperor by Andrea Stewart. This is the second book of the Bone Shard trilogy. I wasn't attached to the characters in the first book, but they were decent as well as the story. But this one, it just goes downhill from there. I feel like this has been said time and time again, but not everything needs to be a trilogy. Like, honestly, I don't feel like there's enough material for a third book. I honestly didn't feel like there was enough material in the second book. It would have been so much better if the author had just wrapped it up and made it a duology, but there's just not enough for you to build on for a third book that's over 600 pages. And reading the reviews, I think I'm right. So I don't think I'm gonna finish this trilogy, unfortunately. We're now finally down to our last 3 books. Number 48 is The Fiancé Farce by Alexandria Belfleur. Addicting, lighthearted, and silly. Marriage of Convenience at its peak. Number 49, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. You know how I said I want my vampires to be bloody, gory, thirsty? This one delivered a lot more than I even expected. Do not judge a book by its title, nor its premise, honestly. Vampirism is at its most grotesque and monstrous here. This book had me fuming. Like, I was so angry, but in a good way. Could not put this book down. It was so engaging. And for a book whose main cast is a bunch of middle-aged white women in a book club, it's a hard sell, but it honestly did the damn thing because this book was great. There is a lot of nudity, though, that I didn't think was all that necessary. And last but not least, finally, number 50, which is Cultish by Amanda Montell. This is a non-fiction. This was interesting for the first 100 pages, and then I kind of lost interest a little bit when it started talking about like multi-level marketing. And it's like, I get it, but it wasn't that compelling or engaging to me as the beginning of the book was. But I'm still really glad that I read it. There we have it. We're done. I can't believe I did that in like 5 hours. These are the first 50 books that I've read this year in 2023. As of right now, I've read about 59 books, so I'm coming up to 60. And yeah, I thought this was a really good way for me to talk about all of the books that I don't talk about, that I read throughout the year, because I don't really make separate reviews, nor do I do monthly wrap-ups. If you stayed for this long, you're definitely a real one. Please let me know if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned and what you thought of them. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me, or if you want to read them. Any reviews that I have will be in the description below, and you can follow me on Goodreads or Storygraph to keep up with what I'm reading, and you can also follow me on Instagram, which is the same as this channel, if you want maybe a more up-to-date version of what I'm reading and what I'm up to. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Again, if you made it this far, comment down the little blue sofa emoji with the lamplight over it, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.